Welcome back, and today on our AY and Thor setup we are going to be talking all things GameCube. Let's get started. So for this video we're going to be focusing solely on GameCube, and then in another video we'll be looking at the Wii, but it will be using the same app for both. So we're going to go to Obtainium. As always, if you haven't got Obtainium, make sure you check out my original video where I showed you how to get it. We're going to go and grab Dolphin. There we go. You should be used to this by now. You know the drill. We're going to get that installed, and then we're going to open it up. And here we have Dolphin. Unfortunately, no setup wizard, so we are going to have to do everything ourselves, unfortunately. But fret not, that's why I'm here. So we're going to go to our settings, and we're going to go to config. So we're going to go through general, so I'm going to enable change discs automatically, so when I start playing Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes, it will automatically flip to disc 2. You can enable cheats if you like. Dolphin does have its internal cheat database, which is fantastic. For paths, this will just show you where the paths are for certain things, like if you're using textures, then you'd put them in your load path. Unfortunately, we can't change these because if we try, we get this little message saying that due to the scoped storage policy, we can't change the path. If you want to use texture packs and things like that, these are the paths you use. As I've said in previous videos, on a device this size, it doesn't really make much sense to me. We'll be upscaling the images anyway. So next, we're going to go to our GameCube config, and then you just want to make sure that that GameCube slot A device is your GCI folder. This is going to be your save data. We're going to leave Wii for now. We'll cover that in the next video. Retro achievements, you're probably sick of me saying it by now. Get an account, get signed up, it is wonderful. I'm going to leave hardcore mode enabled. If you disable hardcore mode, it allows you to use cheats, save states, rewinds, that kind of thing. But for me, I'm trying to be a proper gamer. I'm going to enable progress notifications, these little pop-ups that say things like, oh, you've collected this many of this many collectibles. And for user data, if you ever need to reset your device or you want to take your configuration and move it over to another Android device, then you can just export your data, and then when you go to the other device you can import that user data as well. Okay, now back out of config and go to the settings menu. We're going to look at our graphics settings. So for video backend, we're going to flip this over to Vulkan. We'll leave the shader compilation mode on the default. We'll compile shaders before starting, so this will take a little bit longer to load by like a few seconds, but it will reduce a lot of stuttering and make the experience a lot smoother. Aspect ratio, just leave on auto. For enhancements, we're going to change our internal resolution to 3 times native for 1080p. And then the only other option I'm going to change is I'm going to enable the widescreen hacked. And everything else I'm just going to leave as is. If you want to load graphics mods or custom textures from the folders, then you need to enable these options. What you'll need to do as well is each game will have an ID. I'll show you where you can find this later, so you need to make sure it's in the proper folder. And for GPU driver, this is where we're going to install our turnip drivers. If you didn't see my 3DS video, then I will show you where to get them. If you go to Obtainium and you scroll down, you're looking for the track only. So track only basically means that it won't download these within Obtainium, but it will let you know if you mark them as installed when there is a new update. So we're going to grab the Adreno Tools driver by Steven MXZ. We'll just go to that link there. And then we'll grab the latest one. So do make sure, if you're on the AY and Thor, it's for the Adreno A7XX. He does do some for the Odin, which is the Snapdragon Elite, which is the A8XX. So just make sure that you get the relevant one. I also advise getting the Mr. Purple Turnip ones because sometimes this driver can perform better than the Adreno Tools one, but your mileage may vary. I would advise that you tap that mark installed button because anytime there's an update, you'll get a little notification about it. So I'm going to do the same thing for, I've already done it for Adreno Tools. So we're going to go back to Dolphin, we're going to go to GPU driver, and then we're going to install the driver. Now, you can't just install all these and quickly flip between them. It will just use whichever one you last installed. So I'm just going to install this one. And then if I press GPU driver, you can see that it's the turnip driver that it's using. And if you ever need to change it, come back here and then pick the other one. So now for GameCube input. So we're going to make sure it's set to standard controller, unless you fancy setting up some DK bongos. we'll go to this little settings cog, and then we're gonna set our buttons. Now, for the GameCube, depending on how comfortable you are with the GameCube, I had one growing up, I set it based on muscle memory. So the A button was the big button in the middle, the B was on the left, the X was on the right, and the Y was on the top. Played a lot of Tony Hawk's Underground, so that's how I do it. Obviously, if you'd rather have A, B is A, B is B, X is X, Y is Y, that is entirely up to you, but I'm just going to set it up how is comfortable to me. So we'll do A, B, X, and Y. For Z, Z was, if you're not familiar with the GameCube controller, basically an R1. And for start, start is start. You can work that one out yourself. Control stick, this was our left analog stick. We'll do up, down, left, and right. For C stick, that was your right stick. Up, down, left, and right. And for triggers, we've just got our L and our R. And then for left analog, we'll do the same buttons that we just did. These were analog triggers, so it will detect both analog presses. So I did mention it originally in my setup video, where an analog trigger is a bit like a car, where it's adjustable, whereas a digital button or a trigger is on-off. So this will treat them as both. And then for D-pad, we'll do our normal D-pad. Up, down, left, and right. For Rumble, if we tap into it, we're going to go to this bit and we're going to just set it to the Odin controller. Okay. So this should trigger the Rumble in games. And we're going to enable always connected. Don't know if it helps, but you never know. So I've got a game that I'm going to be using. So I've got a Super Smash Bros. Melee. So if you're using the ESD folder layout, we are looking for the GC folder. There we are. So I'm just going to unzip this by pressing and holding, pressing our three dots and then extracting. So now it's extracted, you'll notice that this is an RVZ file. RVZ files are specific to Dolphin. They are great because they are so small compared to normal ISO rips, which are usually all the same size. There is a way to convert ISOs to RVZ within Dolphin, which I'll show you shortly as well. But I'm just going to press and hold, scissors, paste. There we go. So now if we go back to Dolphin, I'm going to add our folder. I'm going to go to ROMs, I'm going to go to GC, and then we're going to use that folder. So just before we boot, I'll show you, if you do have an ISO version, if you press and hold, so we get this little menu, which is our details menu. So you'll see at the top where it says game properties GALE01, that is the game ID. So if you are using custom texture packs, that is the folder they need to be in. If you press convert file, then you get this little conversion wizard. You can set it to RVZ, and then you can just convert it, and it'll ask you where you want to save it. So you can see here it details all the different versions. RVZ is the best one without a doubt. So in here you can also edit the cheats if you enable cheats. Like I said, they are usually built in, so you can have a play around with those if you like. I'll be leaving them off. So let's boot into a game. So we have this overlay by default. For some reason it doesn't let us disable it from outside, so what we're going to do is press our back button to get our little menu pop up, and then we're going to go to overlay controls and we are going to toggle, and we're just going to press toggle all, and that will get rid of all of them. Before, when I mentioned that I'd set automatically change disk, if you don't want to do it automatically, then you can use this menu as well to change the disk. So let's try some Super Smash Bros. Okay, here we go. So we'll just do a quick match. I haven't played for many years, so no judging. So we'll just do Mario. So I can feel the vibration. Obviously that's not going to pick up on camera because we set that vibration motor to the device itself. So you can see here I've got some leaderboard notifications, so you can disable those if they're a bit annoying, which I probably will for the leaderboard ones. Come on, Peach. I have not played this for so long, I can't remember how to play it. I bet you're on the edge of your seat like with these esports players. Well, I fell off, so that's enough of that. So there we are, that was a quick guide to setting up GameCube emulation on Dolphin. We will be covering Dolphin again for Wii emulation in a separate video, so make sure you like and you subscribe and you stay tuned for that one as well. If you've got any requests, questions, please drop them in the comments below, and I will see you next time.